Let's take a look at the second special right triangle. This one is called the 30, 60, 90 right triangle. Those are for the angles. So let's draw what a 30, 60, 90 triangle would look like. First of all three different size angles, so all three different size sides. If one angle is smaller, it's going to be across from the smaller side. So here's my shortest side. Across from it should be my smallest angle, 30 degrees. Here's my longer leg. Across from the longer leg should be the 60 degrees. And of course, the hypotenuse is always across from the 90. The longest side is the hypotenuse. So what do we have in this picture here? We have one leg. I'm going to refer to this as my short leg. So SL will be for short leg. I have another leg right here. I'm going to refer to this as LL, or long leg. And lastly, across from the right angle, I have H. We'll refer to this as the hypotenuse. So we have short leg, long leg, and hypotenuse. What's the relationship between these three sides? Here's the formula. First of all, everything depends on the short leg. So let's make a note of that. Finding every side depends on what the short leg is. So we always find that first. Everything depends on the short leg. We're calling that SL, the short leg. So always find the short leg first, because everything depends on it. We can't find the other things without finding the short leg. Why is that? Well, here's our formula. If we are given the short leg, which is ideal because we always need that first. So let's say I'm not even going to write what we need. We need everything else, but let's say we are given the short leg. So here's what our formulas look like. The long leg is the short leg times the square root of 3. The hypotenuse is the short leg times 2. Now, that doesn't just pop out of thin air. Remember, these come from the Pythagorean theorem. Let's take a peek at this. In this problem where I have the one of the sides of the triangle is half as big as the hypotenuse, well, remember our c squared equals a squared plus b squared. The c is the hypotenuse, so 6 squared equals 3 squared plus b squared. 36 equals 9 plus b squared, subtract 9. 27 equals b squared, take the square root, do some simplifying. This is 9 times the square root times 3, so b is 3 square roots of 3. 3 square roots of 3. So here the smallest of these three sides is this one. That's our short leg. This triangle is not drawn to scale. Short leg. The hypotenuse is here. It's the short leg doubled, the short leg times 2. This guy is our long leg. This one is the short leg times the square root of 3. We could use the Pythagorean theorem, but it would take a lot longer. Also, with this method, we don't need to know two sides. If I only know one side, I can find the other two sides. Let's see how that works. In this problem, I see a 30 degrees, a 60 degrees, and 90, so I know I'm using the 30, 60, 90 shortcuts. I see across from the 30 is the smallest angle, so across from the 30 is what I want to have, and I have it. This guy right here is the short leg. Let's label the other guys to be helpful. So across from the right angle is the hypotenuse, and then I have the long leg. So what's my formula? If I want to find the long leg, that is the short leg times the square root of 3. So the long leg is 14 times the square root of 3. Done. The hypotenuse is the short leg times 2. So in this problem, it's 14 times 2, or 28. Done. That's all there is to it. Long leg, let me circle that better. Long leg is 14 square root of 3. Hypotenuse, 28. Want to try number 8? Pause the video, come back, see how you did. So let's see what we have here. 60 degrees here, 90 degrees here, so this one must be 30 degrees. Across from the smallest angle is the short leg. Here's my short leg. Multiply by square root of 3 to get to the long leg. Multiply 4 times 2 to get to the hypotenuse. 4 times 2 makes 8. So 8 is the hypotenuse. 4 square root of 3 is the long leg. Done. It's that easy. It really is. You just have to memorize these formulas. Let's take a look at another scenario. In the 7 and 8, we were given the short leg. What happens if we're not given the short leg? We just work backwards. So remember how if I want the hypotenuse, which is what I'm given here in my 30, 60, 90 triangle, I'm given the hypotenuse. So let's think of our formula. The formula for hypotenuse is short leg times 2. So how do we go backwards? Going backwards is dividing by 2. So if I want the short leg, I do hypotenuse divided by 2. So my short leg across from the 30 degrees, my short leg is 14 divided by 2, or 7. 7 is my short leg. Once I know my short leg, remember, everything depends on the short leg. So my long leg formula is the short leg times the square root of 3. Well, my short leg is 7, so my long leg is 7 times the square root of 3. That is it. Let's go back up and write down those formulas given what you have. So given the hypotenuse. Okay, we're going to do 3 scenarios, given the short leg, given the hypotenuse, and then finally we'll talk about what happens when you're given the long leg. So given the hypotenuse, so you always remember, always want the short leg first. So if I want my short leg, hypotenuse is short leg times 2, so short leg is hypotenuse divided by 2. Then we can find the long leg the same way we did here. The long leg is whatever we got for the short leg times the square root of 3. While we're here, we could talk about what to do given the long leg, but let's not do everything at once. Let's go back to these examples. You want to pause the video and try the next one? So you may see in this problem that this one looks a little bit trickier because the hypotenuse isn't just a whole number, it has a radical with it. Don't fret about that. We still follow the formulas. Find the short leg first. Here's the short leg. How do I find the short leg? Hypotenuse divided by 2, since the hypotenuse is supposed to be double the short leg. Well, what's the hypotenuse? Square root of 3. So in place of my hypotenuse, 6 square root of 3. In place of my hypotenuse, I'm writing 6 square root of 3. I'm dividing it by 2. Well, 2 is outside the radical, 6 is outside the radical. 2 goes into 6 3 times. So what is my short leg? 3 square root of 3. 3 square root of 3. There's my short leg. How do I find the long leg? Remember the formula, short leg times square root of 3. What's my short leg? Here's my short leg, 3 square root of 3. So in place of short leg, I'm going to write 3 square root of 3, but I'm multiplying it times square root of 3. How do I simplify that? You know, square root of 3 times square root of 3 is 3. And then what do I have left over? 3 times 3, and what's that? 9. So 9 is my long leg. Yay! Let's take a look at one more scenario. In this case, what are we given? Well, here's my 30 degrees, so this one's my short leg. So this must be my long leg. So we're given the long leg. Remember what we're always supposed to do first. Everything depends on the short leg. Find the short leg first. How do we do that? Let's go back to our first formulas. We always want to remember them as we're given the short leg. So if my long leg is found by doing short leg times square root of 3, then to find my short leg first, what's the opposite of that? Divide by square root of 3. Long leg divided by square root of 3. Once I know the short leg, it's all the same after that. The hypotenuse is the short leg times 2. So just remember these formulas. That's all you have to memorize. Then think of which direction you're going. Do you have to go backwards? Do you have to do the opposite? So let's go back to those problems. Here's my long leg. I want to find the short leg. So again, I think to myself, my long leg is short leg times square root of 3. So going backwards, Making it smaller, my short leg will be my long leg divided by square root of 3. So what's my long leg? 8 radical 3. My long leg is 8 radical 3. I'm dividing it by radical 3. So what happens? The radical 3's divide out, and I'm left with just 8. 8 is my short leg. So I could think of it as, what does this have to be such that I get 8 radical 3 in my long leg? However you think about it, that's fine. Just remember the formula. Once I have the short leg, the hypotenuse is easy because the hypotenuse is just the short leg times 2. Now you don't have to write these down every time, but this is what you're thinking. So short leg times 2 means 8 times 2, or 16. 16 is my hypotenuse, and I'm done. So what happens, like in number 12, when it doesn't have a radical in it? Same process. Remember your formula. Here's the 30 degrees. Across from it is the short leg, and I want the short leg first. So we think of our formula. Long leg is short leg times radical 3. So going backwards, I want to take the long leg and divide it by radical 3. What's the long leg? 15. 15 divided by radical 3 is my short leg. But I can simplify this. I never leave a radical in the denominator. So how do I simplify it? I multiply by square root of 3 on top, square root of 3 on the bottom. Why do I do that? Square root of 3 times square root of 3 is just 3. So where does this leave me? 15 square root of 3 over 3. But the numbers both outside of the radical divide into each other. 3 goes into 15 5 times, and I'm left with 5 radical 3. My short leg is 5 radical 3. There's my short leg. Once I have my short leg, my hypotenuse is just short leg times 2. Let's see how we do that. Short leg is 5 radical 3 times 2. So what gets multiplied together? The numbers both outside of the square root. 5 times 2 is 10 with a radical 3 left over. So I have 10 radical 3 for my hypotenuse. 10 radical 3. Isn't that fun?